Good afternoon, James Preston with you on 𝐂𝐨𝐿 TV, and welcome to another edition of Executive Corner Expert Talks. In 2021, we're now well and truly over a decade deep into an age of convergence. People are consuming media, especially news content, in new and ever-evolving ways. As evidenced by Nine's recent multi-million-dollar deal and multi-year deal with Facebook and Google to provide an array of news content, quality journalistic material that relates to the audience consuming it is heavily sought after. It's something that this episode's guest knows all too well. Simon Mumford is the Managing Director and owner of the New South Wales local app company, and he now joins me on the show. Simon, a very good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, James. We have a little bit of a delay, but I'm with you.
Perfect, mate. Well, look, we'll do our best with that delay. It's great to have your company here, though. Simon, let's start off. Exactly what is the New South Wales local app company?
Yeah, the New South Wales app company is like a holding company, if you like, and then underneath that we have local app companies for regional cities or regional areas of New South Wales. That really what it's about is super serving a particular local market. As we know from a media perspective, the bigger players of the world, the Rupert Murdochs, want to maximise profits, so they cover a large area which can include 5 or 6 regional towns, whereas ours is only super serving one town.
So which markets do you operate in?
Okay, so I live in Lismore with the other partners. My wife is a partner, so we live in Lismore, so that's one market. Port Macquarie is another market, which we team up with another operator who has one in Orange, so the Orange app, and also the Hunter app. I understand there's also one in the Fluoro, just south of Adelaide, in South Australia, and also the Bugle app is in Kiama.
Yeah, beautiful. So there's a lot of areas that you're covering in there. So I know you were mentioning before that the key goal is sort of localism, you're providing something a little bit different, but exactly how do you differ from those other media platforms when we're talking about things such as Rupert Murdoch and his conglomerates?
I guess, yeah, I think the main point of difference with those is, as I said, if we have one here that, and the Northern Star, which is under Rupert, but before COVID had a newspaper, and everyone thinks traditional newspaper, TV, radio, so even advertising, how they consume media. So before COVID, we even came up with, it was just a digital platform. That's all we were available on. Once COVID hit, it was funny how all the local, or not all, a lot of local newspapers just closed. So I think in Port Macquarie, for argument's sake, they closed for about 3 months. So people virtually didn't have any way to consume the media. And in Lismore, they just closed the Northern Star down, and the Northern Star went on the same platform which the Lismore app was already on. Now, and so we can super serve, I think it's one region or one area. So for Lismore, it means that we can do the news that everyone does, which is the ones that gets the high views to do with, murders, car crashes, etc. The negative news also that you get hit with every time you turn on the 6 o'clock news, for argument's sake. But it allows us to do good news stories as well for the community. So it makes us much more part of the community, for charitable events. Good news story of a 12, 13-year-old we've had where a 12, 13-year-old cricketer plays first grade for the first time. Small stories that outside of community no one cares about, but because a lot of people know those people involved or that person involved, it becomes part of the community in which we live.
We've sort of already touched on this, but given that we have so many major media conglomerates operating in the country, whether it be Murdoch-backed consortiums or otherwise, does it make it harder to get a foothold in the market, or do you see that as an opportunity?
I think it's much more of an opportunity. And I'll go back to what we were talking about before. It's if you're super serving a community, super serving an area, you can really serve a community in a much stronger way. So it becomes less about profit, which is exactly what the larger newspapers are about. In the end, they've probably got shareholders and they want to maximize profit. For us as a small business owner, we want to make enough to have a living and do well out of it if we can. But also it allows us to be part of the community and grow with the community. So it brings everybody back to I don't know, it's almost like a forgotten part of the media. So
Mm.
rather than being about just money, which is it is in the end of the day, for us it's about being part of the community and working with the community to highlight, as we're talking about, the good stories as well as those bad news stories that do rate very well from a view point of view.
So, what do you believe the future of the media landscape looks like? How is the New South Wales local app company going to fit into that future?
Look, I'd like to think that the future lies within where we're going. I think the way that media has been carved up and the way that it's become such a focus on the business side of it is that we lose that human aspect, and we lose the community. This is not so much in big markets and in capital cities like Sydney, Melbourne, Adelaide, Brisbane. This is more in the regional centres of Australia, where a lot of the publications have just closed down because they can't afford to operate anymore. So I'd like to think that this is the future, especially for regional Australia, to really unify a community and work together with them and report on, I said, big and small stories that appear and help the community. So I hope this is the future, and I hope that maybe the big players can make way for what I would consider stronger, better representation for regional journalism, within a particular town or city.
Yeah, Simon, I love it, mate. It's localised, it's personalised as well in many senses. There's a lot of people that would know the reporters you're putting into those areas, and I know there's been a huge, overwhelming positive feedback really for the Hunter app and the Port app and Orange and Lismore app. So it's something that people really are enjoying. They're taking on board, and I really do commend you for getting on the horse and getting in front of it really, and showing a new path in media. So yeah, congratulations for that, and thank you so much for your time today.
The take-up, we've been going 3 years, just over 3 years in Lismore, and we've had over 33,000 downloads, which for us, the smartphone market, we call it the mobile smartphone market from the Bureau of Statistics. And that's a great representation. It's 121% of our market, which then means that we have people that might live outside of our 2480 postcode that live in Casino or live in Ballina, Evans Head, that also commute to Lismore and work in Lismore, or vice versa. So it means that our spread is increased, but it means also that the stories that we're writing, people are very interested in and want to be part of, and from again, supporting charity events to supporting local people. I think that perspective of being part of a community really hones in, and I think people are responding to that with the apps, and now the Port app is only 7 months old, but again showing great traction, great support from the community, who know that because we don't have a subscription model, because ours is free and we survive off advertising, that business support becomes critical. And we find that even in Lismore, and this is happening in Port and it's happened in Hunter as well, you just get some businesses that really love the concept and they want to be part of it from day one, because they know what it can be in the future, which is fantastic news for us.
Yeah, look, it's great to see such fantastic growth, especially as you mentioned there with the Lismore app, over 30,000 downloads in 3 years, just incredible stuff. Simon, thank you so much for your time today, mate, and best of luck for the future.
Thank you very much.
That's Simon Mumford, the Managing Director and owner of the New South Wales local app company. If you are interested in the apps, you can download them on both the Google Play Store and also the Apple App Store. There's the Port app, Hunter app, Lismore, Orange. There's a whole swag of them, and you can check them all out on the app stores. Well, that's it for this edition of Executive Corner Expert Talks. Make sure to subscribe to 𝐊𝐿𝐼𝐴 TV's YouTube channel to keep across all of our expert talks, and of course to dive into our catalogue of previous chats. I'm James Preston for 𝐊𝐿𝐼𝐴 TV.